So does that all make sense? Okay. So the secret to, fueling your body, or if you want to lose weight, or you want to do a race or an event or a big tramp, the secret is to really fuel your body. So thinking about that every 4 hours, having a carbohydrate snack or meal, pasta, potatoes with the skins on, these should make up the staple of your diet with lots of veggies and that sort of thing. And if you're going out to do any sort of exercise, do any of you do much sort of training and that sort of thing? A good idea about an hour before you go out to do any sort of activity is to have a decent little carbohydrate snack. So if you had a piece of fruit and a muesli bar, or an M's Power cookie bar, or you could have a sandwich with some peanut butter and honey, or something like that. So it's going to give you some fuel in the tank, get your blood sugar levels up, and then that will help to sort of fuel you through your workout. So what happens when you're actually exercising and with going further from the blood sugar thing is you have two types of energy systems happening with your metabolism. So you have glycolysis, which is like the sugar burning part of your metabolism. So with sprinters and power athletes that just do really short, hard bursts of activity, they really, really rely on having readily available blood sugar to fuel them through that really quick burst of energy. And so that's called glycolysis, or the sugar burning cycle. And then when you're doing more aerobic type activities like cycling or running or triathlon or whatever, tramping, you actually go into what's called the Krebs cycle, which is the fat burning metabolism. So, people going out and they want to work out and burn fat, you have to actually, you're not burning that quick sugar right away. You're actually going into that Krebs cycle, and from that Krebs cycle, you'll be burning fat. But the catch is, in order to drive your fat burning cycle, you must have a constant drip feed of sugar happening, because the sugar drives the glycolysis and the glycolysis drives the Krebs. And so if you don't eat enough, whether you're an elite athlete or you're just someone wanting to go out and walk around the block, if you don't eat enough, you're literally not going to have any fuel in the tank, and the whole system will shut down. And have you heard of hitting the wall? That's what hitting the wall is. So you've got your blood sugars driving glycolysis, but your body's quite smart. You actually store sugar in your muscles and your liver as well, and that's called glycogen. And the amount of glycogen that's stored in your body, so you got your blood sugar, and then you got your muscle and your liver sugar, and that's enough to keep you going for about 2-3 hours, and then it runs out completely. So you often hear of marathoners, elite level marathoners take 2.5 hours to run a marathon. For you and I, it might take 3, 4, 5 hours to run a marathon. Well, it's physically impossible, it's physiologically impossible to actually rely on what's in your body and your stored sugars to get you through that event. So that's why you must have carbohydrate, boom, 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 regularly throughout that thing to keep you going. If you don't, if you deplete all your blood sugars and you deplete all your muscle glycogen, you're going to hit the wall. Your body's going to be forced to start using protein, burns protein for energy, and that's kind of like putting oil in your car's gas tank and expecting it to drive. It'll probably just fall over or start smoking, or I don't know. Just doesn't work. So you want to put the best fuel that you can inside your bodies to keep it going. So that's basically how metabolism works. And when you're out there doing your sport, it's just, what I do is I tend to have, my watch going, right? And every sort of 30 minutes, I'm thinking, okay, right, I need to have something to eat, whether it's a gel or half a power cookie or a sip of my sports drink or whatever it is. It's really important to constantly be just thinking about that. And it's not easy. You have to actually be really disciplined to remember to actually eat to fuel yourself. And, you don't have to be doing, like I said, these types of sports to do this. It's the same principles apply for people who just want to be healthy and have a healthy body weight and keep their metabolisms burning and ticking. And then as you do exercise, you become fitter, your metabolism becomes more efficient, and then you actually do burn more calories. And that's how you lose weight. You don't lose weight by starving. So does that all make sense? Yeah.
Where does red meat come into it?
Red meat is a protein and it's a fat, and so it contains zero carbohydrate, and so protein is a whole other thing. And you do get quite a lot of protein from your starchy carbohydrates, so your whole grains and, well, your vegetables as well as potatoes and rice and that sort of thing. But meat, particularly red meat, just provides it's a very high quality source of protein. It's got a very high biological value. And small portions of meat throughout the day is what the food guide pyramid recommends. Personally, I'm a vegan, believe it or not. Quite muscly. But most people meet or exceed their protein needs for the day. So as long as you're eating a healthy, balanced diet, looking at that food pyramid, eating from all the food groups in a variety, and you're maintaining your body weight, you're fueling yourself, you're feeling good, chances are you'll also be getting in enough protein. But red meat's a great source of iron and zinc, and protein, of course. Yeah. So.
What about post-exercise?
Yep.
After being for a 2-hour run.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's a very good question. The question was, what do you do post-exercise? So after a 2-hour run, even though you've been sort of snacking and nibbling along the way, chances are you're going to finish that run and you're going to be depleted, because as you're eating along the way, it's sort of, you can never quite eat enough. Like when you get to the end, like after doing coast to coast, I eat about 900 grams of carbohydrate, which is over 3 times the amount of carbohydrate I eat in a normal day. Despite eating that much carbohydrate, I'm still depleted at the end. So you have a 30-minute window of opportunity after a workout to replace that carbohydrate. And what that does, you have a snack, and the recommended amount for a snack after training, there's an actual formula, and it's 1.2 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight, plus 10 to 20 grams protein. So a big tin of creamed rice, one of those 400-gram tins of creamed rice, gives you about 80 grams of carbohydrate, 16 grams of protein. A peanut butter and honey banana sandwich, same thing. So you want to try to have that in within 30 minutes after you finish. That's the window of opportunity. Your metabolism's jacked. It's like, yeah, man, I've just worked hard. I've depleted myself. You replace it straight away within 30 minutes. It's going to actually teach your metabolism to recover. You're going to become more efficient. And then the next time it sets the stage for the next time when you need to go out and exercise. You'll be that much fitter and that much healthier. Whereas if you don't have anything after exercising, you're actually in a catabolic state, which means that your muscles are breaking down because you've actually injured your muscles. You've caused small little micro tears in your muscles when you've gone out and exercised. So in order for the muscles to repair themselves, you actually need carbohydrate. And that's when you need high GI carbohydrate after having that meal. So that's when it's appropriate to have those processed cereals, cornflakes, Wheat Bix, Fruit Loops, glucose, snakes, gummies, sports drinks. These are high glycemic index types of carbohydrates. White bread, I never recommend white bread, but after training, you could certainly have some white bread because of that high GI. It gets in quicker and you recover better. High GI turns into blood sugar more quickly. So after training, that's when you want to have high GI. Now during training, so for example, during coast to coast, it's a 13-hour race for me, right? So my choice of foods that I use is a combination of high GI foods, like my gummy snakes, my gels, my sports drink. Those are all high GI. But then my low GI foods that I have are my M's Power Cookies. I have 4 cookie bars over the course of the day of the coast to coast. So that acts as my low GI log burning. It gives me some substance in my gut, so I feel like I've actually had something. But the high GI carbs, they're easy to eat, they turn into blood sugar quickly, and they keep the whole system driving. So it's important to have a blend of both, and to figure out what's going to work best for you. That's going to depend on your personal preference, your taste, how hard are you going, how long are you going. You know, if it's generally what I say to people, if you're going out for more than 2 hours, you need to plan on taking some solid food with you. So bananas, power cookies, perfect things. Any sort of energy bar, really, really good. Yeah, so it's that combination. And there's no right mix, there's no perfect recipe. It really comes down to picking the foods that you enjoy the most, but also being wise about which choices you're making. So I'm more than happy if any of you have any more questions, like, if you have specific questions, you can come talk to me at the Power Cookies booth, or you can go to my website, powercookies.com, and just email me. And I'm more than happy to help out, because I love doing that. I love helping people. It's why I'm here, and I'm really passionate about it. So, yeah.
In terms of your sources of protein,
Yeah.
what are your kind of
Key things?
sources?
Okay, very good question. So because I'm a vegan, how do I get enough protein in my diet? Almost, how people, they talk about, well, what are you having for tea tonight? And they've taken the steak out of the freezer and they're going to make steak or whatever. Well, we put the beans on to soak. So we're constantly making curries. We're putting beans in everything. Because I used to be a vegetarian for a lot of years, but I was still using dairy, and I was eating meat as like a supplement to my diet. But since cutting all that out about 4 or 5 months ago now, we have to really be conscious and make sure that we are getting in these things. So our diet's gotten so much better because almost every day we're eating some sort of bean or legume. And that bean or legume in combination with pasta or rice or starch or other vegetables actually gives you a complete protein. And then oftentimes when I'm making my curries or my pizzas or burritos or whatever, I'll put in a handful of nuts or LSA, which is linseed, sunflower, and almond. It's all ground up. So when I make my porridge in the morning, I get a couple spoonfuls of that. My rolled oats, starchy carbohydrates, but more wholesome, the more protein they have. Gives me enough protein as well. We drink rice milk and soy milk, which has protein. We use soy foods, but mainly it comes from beans and starches combined. And because we eat so much food, because we're doing so much exercise, the sheer volume of food, we're more than meeting our requirements. So the only supplement that I take is vitamin B12. We've only just started taking that because vitamin B12 is one of the vitamins that only comes from animal sources. So it's been really interesting. And if you're interested in learning more about health and nutrition and optimizing your diet, I've never been as moved by any sort of diet book in my life. But this is a book that it actually made me turn into a vegan. And it's called the China Study. And it's a review of the literature that's been done for about the last 40 years on the benefits of eating a whole foods plant-based diet with very little or no animal protein. And the research that they have on eating this way is as good as the research that we have about smoking being bad for us. So we know smoking's bad for us, so you shouldn't smoke. It's very highly correlated with lung cancer. Well, we know that if you eat a plant-based whole foods diet with very little animal protein, chances are you're not going to get cancer or heart disease or stroke, or if diabetes. If you have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, the obese kind, you can control it with this type of diet. And it's a high carbohydrate, whole foods, plant-based diet. When I used to practice as a dietitian, I worked in the States, and there were a few clinics in the States that were very renowned. The Cleveland Clinic, the Dean Ornish Center. Dean Ornish is a very profound, famous cardiologist. Pritikin. These are all guys for the last 20, 30 years have been curing and reversing people's heart disease. And they've been doing it with this type of diet. But as a dietitian, we'd say, oh, that's too difficult to expect people to do it. And the food pyramid says you should have meat and dairy and this much. And, you must have dairy, otherwise you get osteoporosis. And it's actually not entirely accurate. You can get everything you need out of a plant-based diet. And why is it unrealistic to expect a patient who's dying of heart disease to say, look, buddy, stop smoking. Look, buddy, stop eating half a cow. Eat some beans. And it can really make a big difference. And the research is there. If you're more interested, check out the China study and see for yourself what you think. But it moved me from being a non-believer to being like, okay, I'm a vegan now. And I used to make fun of vegans. I used to beat them up. No. But so it's changed me for sure. Yeah. Any other questions?